Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Shared News Live. It is just me today, Zachary, as we are brought here to debunk what is going on between Katie and Blake as they have just announced their breakup on Instagram in a joint mutual statement earlier today, and fans were pretty much shocked. I saw a lot of people online being like, I knew that was going to happen. I told that. I called that. Isn't that so easy to say after a couple announces their breakup? But I also knew it was going to happen. But anyway, they announced their breakup in a mutual statement. We are going to get all into this. We're going to be pulling up some tweets, getting in some fan comments and questions. If you guys have any, leave them in the chat and I will get to them. And if you guys have not subscribed to our channel already, make sure you guys do that. Give this video a big thumbs up. And make sure you leave your comments down below. I am Zachary Reality. Make sure you guys are following me on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm always talking about The Bachelor. And today is no different because we have this breakup news. So before we kind of get into the breakup, we have to start with the post, the mutual statement that they both put on their Instagram at the exact same time. The only difference was Katie's photo was in black and white and Blake's was in color. So I don't know what that means, but it might mean something if we're going to read between the lines here. So the statement says, "It is with mutual love and respect that we have decided to go our separate ways. We are so grateful for the moments we shared together and the entire journey that has unfolded this year, but we ultimately have concluded that we are not compatible as life partners, and it is the most caring choice for both of us to move forward independently. We ask for kindness and privacy as we navigate this transition. Both of us will forever want the best for one another and ask you to please support us in our decision." This is a very interesting statement. Obviously, it was planned. They did not just break up today. I don't know who wrote the statement. Maybe it was their publicist. Maybe it was The Bachelor. It is a joint mutual statement, so they both obviously had a say in the statement. The one thing that really stood out to me in this statement, the one key word is compatible. Because didn't we all think that Katie and Blake were the most compatible? Isn't that why we were shipping Katie and Blake before we even knew Katie was the Bachelorette? Because they both had a reputation for being sex positive on their seasons. If you remember that group date where they were making clay on Tayshia's season, Blake carved out, it's that eggplant emoji. And then Katie obviously showed up to Matt James's season with a vibrator. So they both really branded themselves as like the sexually positive, sexually active contestants. So I think that's kind of why Bachelor Nation immediately shipped them together. And we just thought that they would be so compatible. And maybe that's why they're putting in that word not compatible to let us know that they didn't end up being compatible after all. But I'm kind of shocked because I really thought that they were compatible and that they would be so good together. And their relationship lasted about 6 months. So they got engaged on The Bachelorette. We all saw what happened. It really did come down to Greg versus Blake, and there was the whole drama with Greg. That breakup was so dramatic. She ended up choosing Blake, and there was a lot of backlash, I think, with Blake because he was initially really into Claire. Then he was initially really into Tayshia. A lot of people always like to say that Blake would have proposed to a stick if a stick was the Bachelorette. But I don't know. I really thought he did have a thing for Katie. And with Katie, it kind of seemed like she was all in with Greg and that she really liked Greg. But then when that whole thing fell out, a lot of people thought that maybe, Blake was the next best option. So they really are getting a lot of criticism here about why their relationship didn't work out. But I thought that they were into each other. I thought that they had a pretty good connection and rapport. I don't necessarily know if it was meant to last forever. I kind of see like a solid friendship here more than anything. And at least with this breakup, there's no pettiness, there's no toxicity, there's no drama. I mean, every other Bachelor breakup, there has always been he said, she said, drama, these receipts and all of this. Here, we don't have any of that. We really don't have a side to take. You can't really say you're Team Blake or you're Team Katie because they've always been a united front since they left the show together back in June or July, whenever it was. And they never really fought online. There was no tension. They never talked bad about each other. And that is something that we can say about them that we cannot say about any other couple in Bachelor Nation that has ever broken up. I mean, look at the other couple who just broke up in Bachelor Nation, Claire and Dale. Clearly, in that situation, there are sides to pick. There's Team Claire, there's Team Dale, there's Team Let's Stop Talking About Them. That breakup has been playing out for over a year. But with Katie and Blake here, we really don't have any sides. You can't tell me you're rooting for Blake or you're rooting for Katie, because it doesn't seem like either of them have wronged each other. So, I mean, team no one or team everyone. It's fun to pick teams, obviously, when you're talking about reality TV and The Bachelor. But when you're talking about people who are, it's their real life, as they said, they want to keep their privacy, then I guess we really just have to kind of give them that respect and give them that privacy. We don't know what really happened behind the scenes. This statement doesn't give us anything other than that key word compatible that I mentioned to you guys. It just seems like they really didn't last and they weren't meant to be. I think one of the main reasons that they had a strain on their relationship and that it probably wasn't going to last, I think, is the obvious. They live in two completely different countries. So Blake is from Canada. Katie is from Seattle. She grew up there in Washington, around Seattle, and then she moved to San Diego immediately after the show. She got her own apartment and she just kind of wanted to move to a new city. And I think that is where my red flags went up in this relationship, is like, why is she moving to a new city, starting her life like from scratch? That's so exciting for her. She's moving to a new city. She has this newfound fame. What about Blake? What is he doing? He's back in Canada. He's going to Africa for a month to work, which she knew, which they both talked about while he was still on the show, that Africa was going to be in the equation. I think they also knew while they were on the show that Blake lived in Canada and that it was going to be a little bit of a distance situation. So they totally prepared themselves. They knew the reality of the situation while they were on the show before they even got engaged. So there really is no I told you so, because they already knew that. But I think that the distance was probably a lot harder for them than initially they expected it to be. And I think that they gave it their best shot. I don't know if there was like a Bachelor contract, because we have to think about this, as I mentioned, with the statement. The statement was pre-planned, publicist, Bachelor, everyone was involved. But the whole, did they have to stay together for 6 months? Did they have to stay together until the start of Michelle's season? Because Michelle's season just started last week. If they announced their breakup the week of Michelle's premiere, I mean, it would just be bad for Michelle's season. It would set a bad precedent, as if Michelle's season didn't already have a bad precedent, because we already know who the Bachelor is. The spoilers are everywhere. It's like an extra season in the year. We needed a break, Bachelor Nation. So I think that this was really strategically planned by the show to have this breakup announcement happen today, Monday, the day before the second week. It just seems a little bit calculated and pre-planned. Not on Katie and Blake, not blaming them for that. They don't get to decide when their breakup is. They are owned by Bachelor Nation. They have contracts. They have producers. Katie is going to have to give that Neil Lane diamond ring back. She doesn't have a choice. If you don't last for at least 2 years on the show, they expect you to you have to give the ring back, basically. So someone like Caitlin Bristow, that was with Sean Booth for over 3 years, she got to keep her ring. Now she got Jason Tartick's ring. That girl has 2 wedding rings, and she's the host of The Bachelorette. She really got the best situation. Katie is going to unfortunately have to give that ring back, which I'm sure is sad for her in one aspect. Maybe it's a relief. We really don't know how Katie feels, because she hasn't talked much about the breakup or even just the relationship at all too much after she left the show. Katie has always given me the impression that she doesn't really want to get involved in all this Bachelor gossip and stuff like that. So, she kind of has been laying low. Blake has been laying very low as well. I don't even know what he's up to. I don't even think he had his phone when he was in Africa. I don't follow him too closely on Instagram. If any of you do, let me know what he's up to, where you think his future is going to go. I don't really keep tabs on him. He just doesn't spark my interest too much. But Katie, I know she is starting a kind of new career as a stand-up comic, which is something that she's wanted to do for a really long time. She posted on her Instagram about a week or so ago about her going on tour, or maybe just like opening up at this, I think it's in Anaheim. She's doing a live show with a couple other comedians. So I would be interested to see Katie Thurston on stage telling jokes. She definitely has, her future cut out for her as far as like what she can do with her fame. I think she might want to start a podcast. She has this whole Vent with Katie persona on TikTok. She had over 300,000 followers on TikTok before Matt James's season, which is something not everyone knew. She was already doing content and social media and, putting herself out there on the internet before the show. And I don't really know if she wanted to be the Bachelorette or go on the show. because she doesn't necessarily seem like our stereotypical bachelorette, but I mean, how could you turn down that opportunity? And I have so many more thoughts on this, and I'm going to continue this, but I do want to open it up to any questions, any comments you guys have. Make sure you leave them in the chat. I will be getting to all of them. We're going to put them up on the screen. We're also going to be going over some tweets from some Bachelor alums and other Bachelor Nation popular fan accounts that we're going to be popping up here that we will read to kind of react. You know, I'm just here on this Monday night. I got a little red wine here. We got to debunk what the tea is. Isn't that why we're here? So Jenny Carnes Romine, hi Jenny, how are you? She says, well, this happened, ... Did anyone really expect them to stay together? Hopes don't make facts. Hashtag the Bachelorette. Hashtag Katie Thurston. Jenny, you are a savage. Listen, I didn't expect them to last either, but I would never say that out loud. I feel like that's just kind of like not what you're supposed to say. I mean, a lot of people have already brought in Aunt Lindsay, who was most famous on, you know, that episode on The Bachelorette when Aunt Lindsay met Blake. A lot of people are like, Aunt Lindsay is probably telling Katie, you should have said this, you should have I'm like, we can't say that. You can't say that after a breakup. You cannot say, did anyone expect them to stay together? It's just not the right thing to say. The I told you so's, those are the worst things to hear. This truly is all over the internet. I hope that Katie and Blake are like putting their phones down. I just feel like they don't want to read what everyone is saying, but they obviously knew that Bachelor Nation was going to explode, so that's why we are here. Lazaro Arbos fan says, Katie and Blake gave me, well, let me just pick you energy. Hashtag Katie Thurston. I knew these comments were going to come in harsh. You guys are all entitled to your opinion. But, I mean, and you do have valid points. I mean, this was the third girl that Blake fell in love with on The Bachelorette, and we know that Greg left on Katie's season. Michael A. also left. Justin kind of got into the final two by default, and then there was the breakup with Andrew. So you guys have valid points when you say this was like the third option or the pick-me energy. You guys have valid points. The facts are proven. But I still like feel kind of bad just because I know how much this is probably weighing on her more than him, just because she was the lead and she knows how much criticism she's going to get. I guess I just have some sympathy for her. God forbid I feel a little bad for Miss Katie Thurston over here in these streets. Okay, Sarah Ann says, Blake will definitely make a run for Bachelor in Paradise. That dude cannot resist a camera and a pretty girl. Hashtag the Bachelorette. I mean, this is an interesting point. I saw this earlier. A few people were saying that Katie should actually go to Bachelor in Paradise and kind of come back in a couple years, kind of like what Becca Koof did this season. And it worked out for Becca because now she's with Thomas. I think that's a great idea. I would actually love to see Blake on Paradise. I don't think he's going to go on Paradise. I feel like he would get a lot of crap from Bachelor Nation if he was there. But then like a year from now is a pretty long time, so then I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up. I would love for him to show up. I would love for Dale Moss to show up as well. I feel like on Bachelor in Paradise next year, can we have like an all-star cast? I feel like they're always bringing the rejects. The last 2 years, especially this last season, they brought so many people who were eliminated so early. Like, where were all the all-stars? Where was Maddie, Hannah Ann, Victoria F? Where was Ben Smith from Tayshia's season? They need to bring back all the all-stars, which is what they used to do on Bachelor in Paradise in the early seasons. They used to bring back the most popular players from seasons past, and now they just bring back whoever will take a check and a time on the beach and get engaged. Like, that's just what they do. If they can get Blake in Bachelor in Paradise next year, it's a year from now. So the whole Katie and Blake breakup will definitely be died down. Like, it would die down by then. Like, if Katie and Blake broke up, for example, and then Paradise filmed like 2 weeks later, then it would be a problem. It would be a red flag. Why is he there? But if Blake goes in a year to Paradise, I wouldn't be mad about it. Whatever's going to give me and us the best Bachelor tea on Bachelor in Paradise, that's what we need. So if Blake can be there, if Katie can be there, if they both could be on the beach, let's see it happen. A long time ago, for you guys that remember Bachelor Pad, Jake and Vienna were both, they left the show together, they left The Bachelor together, and then they both ended up on Bachelor Pad, which was like the spin-off show, the OG Bachelor in Paradise, and they ended up in the mansion together, and it was just such good TV. So put Katie and Blake both on Paradise, please. LUV says, feel bad, she raked Greg over the coals, she's reaping what she sowed with Greg. Oh, to be a Greg Grippo right now. How do we think Greg feels? That's a really good question. I mean, of course I feel bad. I'm sorry, I have a heart. You know, she was the Bachelorette. This is probably embarrassing for her. I don't think that the Greg has anything to do with Blake and Katie's breakup. I think that Greg and Katie, they put out like a tweet a while ago that they moved on. They talked privately. Greg has been all around town. Greg has been hanging out with Bree. He was hanging out with Kit, Natasha. Greg has truly been spotted with every single girl from Bachelor Nation in the past couple of months. I do not think he wants Katie back. I don't think Katie wants him back. She's certainly over him. She made that clear. When Katie and Greg, excuse me, when Katie and Greg were at after the final rose, I felt like she totally was like upset with him. And I think she was upset with him because she never got to say her piece when he left the show and didn't really say goodbye. So I think she just had a lot of frustrations. Maybe she was upset she didn't get him in the fantasy suite. I know I would be. But I think that she just had a lot to say to Greg. And then I think she was able to close that chapter. In no way, shape, or form do I think Greg has anything to do with Katie and Blake's breakup. But I totally understand that everyone just wants to kind of bring it up because it's funny and like it's trolling, and that's just what we do on the internet sometimes. Natalie says, LMFAO, I literally quit Katie's season the second Blake showed up. The show has been totally destroyed by influencer culture and won't survive another decade if they don't figure out how to make it about actually finding love. Natalie, you bring up some interesting points. I do think that the show is on a downhill spiral because of the whole influencer thing. Yes, that has played a part in it, but I also think the show is just so overplayed. The storylines are so similar. Every season we see the same character archetypes, the same not here for the right reasons, want to be the next Bachelor storyline. I think that a way for the show to evolve is to create new storylines that aren't as obviously produced. I completely understand that this show is produced. We want to see a produced reality show. We want drama. But if they just couldn't make it as obvious, then I think the show could survive a little bit longer. And people are so thirsty to get on The Bachelor these days just to become influencers. But I don't think Katie and Blake were those people. I mean, Katie already had a following before the show. She's always seemed like a really down-to-earth, cool chick. I feel like she didn't want all this fame. She's not acting like out here like trying to get all these followers and stuff. And the same with Blake. I mean, I know everyone thinks that Blake is so thirsty, but I've never seen him that way. I've always seen Blake as really like cool and chill. I really feel like, yeah, maybe he fell in love with so many bachelorettes, but I don't feel like, and I'm sorry I keep saying I don't feel, but I just don't feel like Blake is trying to like get all those followers. Look at his Instagram. He's not posting ads every other day. Jessica says, what episode y'all think Blake is going to show up on Michelle's season? This is my favorite comment that I've seen so far, to be completely honest. I think Blake will show up on Michelle's season around episode 6 or 7. No, I'm just kidding. He's not showing up on Michelle's season, but that would be absolutely hilarious. Love that meme so much. But you know who almost showed up on Michelle's season? Ivan. Ivan reveals in his podcast he did with Nick Viall on the Viall Files that on paper he thought Michelle would be the best option for him in Bachelor World when they were asking him about like Paradise and stuff. But since Michelle ended up being the Bachelorette, he thought his odds were better going on Paradise. But I would have loved to see. I like when someone shows up. I think it really spices up the season when like Nick Viall or Blake crashed Katie's season. Maybe I'm like biased, or maybe I'm like in the wrong, not wrong, but like less minority here. But I like when someone shows up from another season. Okay, Goog Applebaum says, is it a coincidence the day Chris Harrison gets engaged, Katie and Blake break up? I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that Chris Harrison, I think it's funny. I think that Chris Harrison no longer has ties with the Bachelor franchise anymore. I think they paid him off, so I don't think that they have any control over when Chris Harrison announces his engagement, because Chris Harrison got engaged today to Lauren Zima, who is an entertainment host. She has talked a lot about The Bachelor. They've been together for a few years, and they announced their engagement on Instagram today. They probably got engaged over the weekend, and then they announced it a couple days later. But I don't think that The Bachelor has any say when Chris Harrison can announce that. They don't own him anymore. He doesn't work for the franchise. They've cut all ties. That is completely over. So it's not a coincidence, but I think it's kind of ironic, maybe, like justice for Chris Harrison. I think you could possibly say a lot of people feel like he was wrongfully let go, or he didn't get a proper, exit speech after his 20 years with the franchise. So maybe this is justice for Chris Harrison, but I know a lot of people also feel that he deserved to be fired and that it was his time and that, what he did was wrong. And I totally agree with both sides of those arguments. I think both of them have points, but yeah, it's definitely a funny coincidence that they got engaged the same day as the breakup. And The Bachelorette is going to be back tomorrow night, episode 2, with Michelle trying to find love. And I hope that she lasts with whoever she chooses, because we've always given the Bachelorettes so much credit for picking the guy that they end up with. Because these Bachelorettes, they have really good intuition when they give their first impression rose to someone. Usually, more often than not, they end up getting engaged to that person at the end. But so many Bachelorettes have been breaking up with the guy they've chosen recently. I mean, Caitlyn and Sean broke up. Ashley Herbert and JP broke up. Becca and Garrett broke up. Claire and Dale broke up. Now Katie and Blake are breaking up. I mean, please, justice for Tayshia and Zach. Can we just like pour one out to Tayshia and Zach that they last and that we ship them? I really hope that they last because I love them. And Lily says, how does Blake find the one 3 times? I haven't even once. Me neither, Lily. Me neither. But this is such an exaggeration. Can we please be realistic here? Blake never said that he found the one 3 times. Like, this is such an exaggeration. Blake, literally, yes, he was like falling for all 3 girls, I guess you could say, or he was into them. But we can't just say that he was like gonna propose to all 3 of them. I mean, I'm down to joke and make the funny memes and exaggerations, but like realistically, Blake has never said that he found the one with all 3 people. And I mean, this relationship is over. It's hashtag Katie and Blake. And I think that they're going to be friends. I really do think that they have mutual respect, love for each other. I do think that they're going to have some sort of a friendship. I really do think that maybe if the distance didn't play a factor, they would have tried to make it work. But I don't think in the end it was meant for them to work. Should we see either of them on Bachelor Nation shows? I don't think that Katie will ever go back to the franchise. I think Blake is more likely to show up on Paradise. Another interesting point I've seen online today is that all of Katie's men live in San Diego. Katie just moved to San Diego. Is it possible that she could possibly be getting back with one of her exes? We know that she's been hanging out with John a lot, who was eliminated pretty early on her season. Pretty sure that they're just really good friends, but you really never know. Sometimes really good friendships turn into something more. So if John and Katie end up forming a relationship or announce that they're boyfriend and girlfriend in a few months, guys, I honestly would not be surprised. You heard it here first. You really did. So she's not getting back with Greg. She's certainly not getting back with Michael A. Justin, no. Andrew S., no. The most likely is John from her season if she was going to get back with anyone. But, like, who knows? Time will tell. And, I mean, I don't think that Blake is going to ever go on The Bachelorette again. Maybe Paradise, as I've mentioned. I'd like to see him on Bachelor in Paradise Canada. I don't know who has watched that yet, but I did start watching it. They have about 3 episodes out. Bachelor in Paradise Canada is not as good as Bachelor in Paradise America. Granted, it is their first season. Canada is different because they're doing it at a lake where they're all in, like, these, like, kind of bunks, and there's a lot less people, but there is a lot of the Americans on the show, and it's worth the watch. It's worth the listen. You can watch it free on citytv.com, Bachelor in Paradise Canada. The first 3 episodes are out, and I think it's worth the watch for everybody, but I don't think it's as good. But I do think Blake should go on Bachelor in Paradise Canada. Yeah, but keep giving me your questions, guys. If any other comments or any other questions you have about Bachelor Nation as a whole, make sure you guys let me know. We're going to get to some tweets in a couple of minutes, and I can't wait to read those because the tweets are always so funny. I'm definitely in need for a good laugh as I drink my wine and spill the tea here with you guys. But Gatekeeper says, was not expecting this news to shatter my world this evening. Hashtag The Bachelorette. I'm sorry, Gatekeeper, and I'm sorry to all the Katie and Blake shippers out there. I know that when a Bachelor couple breaks up, it could really traumatize some of us and really make some of us super upset. I loved Katie and I supported Katie and Blake, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm like devastated. Like if Tayshia and Zach break up or Jordan and JoJo, then I'm like, you know, I need a day off from work. I need to eat ice cream, tissues in my bed, like don't bother me. But Katie and Blake, I just didn't like, I liked them, but I never shipped them or looked to them as like I stan their love. I just never did. But I'm sorry to everyone that really did and that this shatters you. And if you don't believe in love, Natalie says, hey, who is this guy? LOL. Are you talking about me, Natalie, or are you talking about Blake? Which guy? If you're asking about me, my name is Zachary Reality. I'm an entertainment host, content creator. I'm always talking about The Bachelor on Shared News, on all my social medias, and other reality shows. I love The Housewives. I love Vanderpump Rules. Anything on Bravo. I also love Siesta Key. But who's that guy? That is Blake, who was just on Katie's season of The Bachelorette. He was also on Claire's season and Tayshia's season. And he is, you know, no longer with Katie or Claire or Tayshia. What if Blake and Claire got back together? Do we ever think about that possible theory? I mean, Claire is now single. She's definitely ready to move on from Dale, I would hope. and Blake is now single. Is it too soon to start shipping him with other people? Or should we just not ship people in Bachelor Nation? Because we were shipping Katie and Blake a long time before they even got on the show together. And then this happened, and then they're over. And this is definitely one of the shortest Bachelor Nation relationships I think that we've ever had, but there has been way shorter. I mean, Hannah and Jed lasted like a day and a half. Peter and Hannah Ann didn't even last till the tell-all, and then Peter and Maddie broke up 2 days after the tell-all. And then there's been so many short couples that, like, I mean, at least they made it 6 months. Nick and Vanessa didn't make it as long either. Reality Steph says, I honestly won't be surprised if Katie is spotted hanging out with Greg, hashtag the Bachelorette. No, there is no way. Katie and Greg are so done. We have to remember, Greg was the one who broke up with Katie. He was the one that ended it. He has seemed emotionally checked out of that after the final rose. She really gave it to him. I do not think they have any chance of lasting. I also think that they are not compatible way more than Blake and Katie. I think Blake and Katie are more compatible than Greg, and Katie. Those two are never getting back together ever, literally ever. I just will never see that happening. But if they do and they are spotted together in a week or two, then you guys are right. I'm happy to be proven wrong. But I just don't see that ever happening. Natalie says, hey, yes, you. I normally follow Dave Neal, so I didn't know there was someone else who covers Bachelor. Yes, we love Dave Neal. He is a friend of Shared News. I actually interviewed him. I had him on my podcast, which is just called Zachary Reality, if you ever want to check it out. There are so many more people that cover The Bachelor than Dave Neal, but Dave Neal is very good at covering Bachelor coverage on YouTube. But we have a panel of amazing hosts here at Shared News where we talk about The Bachelor every single week. We do episode reviews, we do predictions, we do lots of fun games. I'm most famous for doing my Bachelor reviews on TikTok, so if you haven't checked me out there or you haven't seen me there, you can just go to Zachary Reality on TikTok. That is my claim to fame with The Bachelor. Dave Neal takes YouTube, but we are amazing here at Shared News as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you binge watch all of our Bachelor videos. We have a lot of fun ones on there. Marion says, long distance and neither seemed ready to compromise. That is a really good point. I don't think that either of them were planning on moving to each other's cities. I think it would have made sense if Blake moved to San Diego because Katie just got her new place. And I mean, I don't think that Katie wanted to move to Canada, but if she did, then that would be a compromise. I mean, or they could have moved somewhere else together. It would have been great if Blake moved to San Diego and they got like a place together instead of Katie getting her own place. And I think that was like the first red flag, the first reason why I didn't think that they were going to last, because Katie just got her own place and she's in an engaged couple. Like, shouldn't they get like a place for the both of them? So yeah, this relationship has definitely been over way before they announced it, but we're wishing them the best. They seem to be on friendly terms. Shara says, hey, how are you guys doing tonight? I'm doing pretty well. I mean, this has definitely taken over the afternoon. Bachelor Nation is shook over this breakup. And I mean, I didn't like see it coming like today. I mean, you really never see these things coming, but there has been some rumors. And hey, Cassandra, that didn't last. Big shocker. There actually has been a lot of talk over the past couple of weeks about Katie and Blake possibly splitting. So I'm not like completely thrown off guard. There has been some like rifferings, but Katie also tweeted like a week ago where she was responding to comments like when people were starting to speculate that they might have broken up. She was like responding to a lot of comments and letting everyone know that Blake has been in Africa and that's why they haven't been able to be together. So like leave her alone. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of came out of left field too at the same time, even though we all saw it coming because she was just defending him, even though the rumors were there and we kind of, not all of us had too much faith that this was going to last forever. S.Ann says, I never trusted Blake. Listen, I get it. He's been on the show. He's dated 3 bachelorettes. I get it. It makes sense. But I mean, he was the guy who proved himself to Katie. He was the one that showed up for her. He was the one that proposed to her. He was the one that stuck by her to the end. As I mentioned earlier, Katie's final 4, half of them left. Greg left. Michael A. left. Things with Andrew S. didn't work out. Like, Blake was the guy that really put in the most effort with Katie, and she can only really choose the best of her 30 options who show up to her New Mexico bungaroo, where the hotel was, where she filmed her season. So I mean, it's not like she could have picked like guys from everywhere. It's, you know, it's not necessary not necessarily that your future man, your future fiance is going on the show that you're on. That's why the Bachelor and Bachelorette don't work out all the time. I don't know if they use like matchmakers or anything, but maybe they should start doing a better job at that if they want more successful couples. I think there's been so many like rumors that the producers just want to put on a good reality show and that they don't care about like the couples lasting. But some of these couples need to last if the Bachelor wants to have any validity. And we are down to like 5 Bachelorette couples lasting out of the 17 seasons. So the odds are not good. And those 5 couples are Trista and Ryan and Tayshia and Zach. And if you know the rest off the top of your head, let me know because I'm like forgetting. Desiree and Chris. I mean, there's only been 5. So JoJo and Jordan. And then what is the last one? Rachel and Brian. I got it. So there's only been 5 couples. So that's not the best odds. But I mean, I guess it's better than The Bachelor. They only have 4 couples still together. I just saw this on Bachelor Data's Instagram. There's like Matt and Rachel, Sean and Catherine, Ari and Lauren, and Jason and Molly, if you even count those 2, because they had to like break up with their winner pick and go with their runner up. So the odds are just not good. There's been 25 seasons of The Bachelor. You have 4 couples you can count as a success, and then 5 couples out of 17 seasons of The Bachelor. And then Paradise, there was 5 couples, but now we have like 5 new couples from this season. But you have to wait and see. Paradise just ended a couple weeks ago. Christina says, I'm really bummed out, but I understand. Yeah, Christina, me and you both, we wish that they would have been happy together and lasted, but, you know, they did their best, and it happens. It's The Bachelor. 6 months in, 6 months later, yeah, what can you expect? This is Katie and Blake's breakup announcement. I don't know when the next time they're going to post on Instagram or anything else is. They're both radio silent, radio active on social media. So I hope that they're keeping their head up high. My biggest question is, because Katie said that she was going to Canada on Twitter. Is she really in Canada? Did she fly out to Canada so that they can like break up in person and have closure? Are they still together right now? Or did she fly to Canada, they broke up, and then she got a hotel? Are they on FaceTime? Like, what happened? Like, did she ever go to Canada? That is my biggest question in all of this. Because, like, maybe that they already knew that they were going to break up and Katie was trying to throw people off, and that's why she put out that tweet that she was going to Canada. Or maybe she got to Canada, they saw each other, had that conversation, and maybe they're just going to hang out as friends for the next few days while she's in Canada. I mean, she took the trip there. She might as well stay a few days. It's not super close. Or maybe she left him and went to a hotel. I have no idea if she's in Canada. SOS. If anyone finds out, let me know, but I will be keeping an eye on that. And we will do a follow-up story here at Shared News on the Katie and Blake breakup, because I'm sure more information will come out of this in the next few days. Hannah says, okay, but everyone's saying that Katie's season of The Bachelorette was a waste of time or anything negative. How do you think she feels? It's not like she planned this. It's easy to forget that we're dealing with real people sometimes. Either be kind or shut up. Hashtag Katie Thurston. I love this, Hannah. This is kind of what I've been saying the last, few minutes on live. That, she can't pick her husband. If her husband wasn't there, and she only had 30 options, and she did the best she could, and Blake was the best option for her out of the 30, and they tried to make it last, and it just unfortunately did not work out. So, yeah, it is what it is, and we wish them nothing but the best because they are done their Splitsville. And I'm really interested to see if any more information comes out of this because I am dying to know the tea. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely check Twitter because a lot of other Bachelor alumni are like saying things about this. They're making comments. They're all in the Instagram. And yeah, send Katie some love, send Blake some love, give them a double tap, like their picture, and let them know that you're thinking of them because this is probably a really difficult time for them, for everyone to be talking about this. So before we let you guys go, make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel. Ring the bell so you get notified whenever we post. Comment down below your thoughts on the Katie and Blake breakup. And make sure you guys are following me on Instagram and TikTok at Zachary Reality. I am always talking all things Bachelor Nation over there, making a bunch of TikToks a day, okay, guys? And we will talk to you guys next time with more Bachelorette tea. Michelle's season is tomorrow, guys. So everyone have a great night, and we'll talk to you next time. See you later.